the evolving human being. The Tibetan tells the members of his group which 5 rays condition them, and students will learn much by a study of what he says. In the cases where I happen to know the disciple concerned personally and something of his problems, it was amazingly interesting to me to note how infallibly right the Tibetan was in his diagnosis of the rays involved. In reading these instructions, will you please remember that though the Tibetan usually speaks of the soul, he also uses the word ego interchangeably, meaning thereby the spiritual ego and not the personal ego of the psychologists. We have not felt it wise to give the meditations assigned or the breathing exercises, except in a few cases. They were strictly individual, and suited to the person and his peculiar problems. In 1 or 2 cases, however, after due consideration, we have inserted some of the meditations with slight changes. It was obvious that they could be only helpful. At the end of each instruction, we have put a sentence or 2 which gives information as to the work of the disciple in the ashram. This will prove particularly enlightening as, for instance, in the cases of PDW and KES where the Tibetan shows definite prevision and the knowledge that both these men would die a few years later. He is obviously preparing them for that great transition. In closing, I would like to thank all these disciples who have so kindly placed their personal instructions at my disposal in an effort to be of service to the coming generation of disciples. In many cases, they help prepare them for the press. I would like also to thank those who helped me to get the text ready for publication, particularly Joseph Lovejoy, who gave days of labor to the book. He has for years helped me prepare the Tibetan's books for publication. I hope all who read this book will receive the inspiration that we who have prepared it have received. I hope also that their confidence in the hierarchy, and in the existence of Christ and his disciples, the masters, may receive such an impetus that many more will attempt to tread the way and join the great number of aspirants in every country who are seeking to tread the path by becoming the path itself. October 1943. Alice A. Bailey. The great invocations. Let the forces of light bring illumination to mankind. Let the spirit of peace be spread abroad. May men of goodwill everywhere meet in a spirit of cooperation. May forgiveness on the part of all men be the keynote at this time. Let power attend the efforts of the great ones. So let it be, and help us to do our part. 1935. Let the Lord of Liberation issue forth. Let him bring succor to the sons of men. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming, save. Come forth, O mighty one. Let the souls of men awaken to the light, and may they stand with massed intent. Let the feet of the Lord go forth. The end of woe has come. Come forth, O mighty one. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, O mighty one. Let light and love, and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming one. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, O mighty one, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. 1940. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out. And may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. 1945. Section 1. Discipleship in the New Age by the Tibetan Talks to Disciples. Part I. My brothers, It is of importance that you realize that today something new is happening. There is the emergence of a new kingdom in nature, the fifth kingdom. This is the kingdom of God on earth, or the kingdom of souls. It is precipitating on earth, and will be composed of those who are becoming group conscious and who can work in group formation. This will be possible because these people will have achieved a self-initiated perfection, even if relative in nature, and will be identified with certain group expansions of consciousness. It will also be because they have arrived at love of their fellowmen, just as they have loved themselves in the past. Think on this with clarity, my brothers, and grasp, if you can, the full significance of this last sentence. Their work will largely be to summarize and make effective the work of those two great sons of God, the Buddha and the Christ. As you know, one of them brought illumination to the world, and embodied the principle of wisdom, and the other brought love to the world, and embodied in himself a great cosmic principle, the principle of love. How can the effectiveness of their work be brought about? The process will follow 3 lines. 1. Individual effort, made by the individual disciple, using the technique of detachment, of dispassion and of discrimination which the Buddha taught. 2. Group initiation, made possible by the self-initiated effort of individual disciples, following out the injunctions of the Christ and leading to a complete subordination of the personality and of the unit to group interest and group good. 3. Group endeavor, carried forward as a group, to love all beings and to apprehend and understand the true significance of the Aquarian technique of group love and work. I have felt that a linking up of your minds in connection with the work of the Buddha, and of the Christ, might serve a useful purpose and give you all a glimpse and an indication of their 2 systems of unfoldment, one preparatory to accepted discipleship, and the other to initiation, which would be sequential and interrelated. The synthesis of their work is easily seen by us who work with the fuller vision, and a less impeded outlook than is, as yet, possible to you. I am, therefore, dividing my disciples into groups so that they may work on different aspects of the plan, and also laying the ground for group work which will greatly help the individual but which will also above everything else forward the work of the new age. It is, therefore, my intention to write a little in detail in connection with these groups. My time is very limited, and I shall have to put a great deal of information into these talks and into any individual instructions which I may be led to give, probably at widely separated intervals, to my disciples. I am not basically writing for any of you at all, but in order to lay the foundation for the group work to be done in the world during the coming years. What I say should be read with care, for the written word may contain several meanings, and these can be sensed, according to the intuition awakened or otherwise of the aspirant. I, your Tibetan brother, am supposing upon the part of each of my disciples, one basic essential at least, and that is a persevering earnestness which nothing will deter. Each of you starts upon this work with certain fundamental characteristics. Each of you is beginning this definite enterprise of training for initiation with certain defects, which act as deterrents and as handicaps. Each of you has been recognized by his light, and for his potentialities, and with these we must perforce do the best we can. Note, therefore, the difficult problem confronting those who are guiding world evolution and looking for those who can aid in their work. I will teach you. Whether or not you profit by the teaching is entirely your own affair. That is something that the disciples of the new age need to learn. There is no such thing as occult obedience, as usually taught by the current occult schools. In the olden days in the East, the master exacted from his disciple that implicit obedience which actually made the master responsible and placed upon his shoulders the destiny or the karma of the disciple. That condition no longer holds good. The intellectual principle in the individual is now too much developed to warrant this type of expectancy. Therefore, this condition no longer holds good. In the coming new age, the Master is responsible for the offering of opportunity and for the right enunciation of the truth, but for no more than that. In these more enlightened days, no such position is assumed by the teacher as in the past, and I do not assume it. I shall with frankness speak. I know my disciples, for no disciple is admitted into an ashram without deep consideration on the part of the teacher. I shall convey by hint and symbol that which should be apprehended, and it will be noted and understood by those among my disciples who have the opened, inner ear and true humility of heart. If it is not recognized, time will pursue its onward course and revelation will ultimately come. I exact, therefore, no blind obedience. But, however, if advice and suggestion are accepted and you choose of your own free will to follow my instructions, those instructions must be followed accurately. Also, there must be known of that constant looking for results and for phenomena which has deterred the course and the progress of many would-be disciples. This is also for me an experiment, for those of us who are members of some degree of the hierarchy are necessarily changing the old ways and adapting the old methods to the newer circumstances and to the advance of evolution. Many tried disciples and aspirants, should I have said, tired, brother of mine, for I surmise that both words are true, are to be subjected to experiments, which will involve the application of the ancient rules in the modern way. Disciples in the olden days were the product of more peaceful times. The chitta, or mind stuff as Patanjali calls it in his famous book of rules, was neither so highly developed nor was it tinctured by so much thought or potentially so illumined. Today, knowledge is widespread and many people are already thinking for themselves. The material for discipleship with which the masters have to deal and the type of person which has to be developed and led on towards illumination is of a higher quality and grade, if I may employ so inadequate a term. The experiment of changing methods and of implementing the new technique of group work has to be carried out, likewise, in the midst of the stress and strain of Western civilization. This imposes on all chosen to participate in this work an undue effort, but if continuance is found possible, and success ensues, it tempers the material to a finer degree of power. As has been said, the jungles of the Occident are of a different kind to those within the Eastern zone. They call for peace in turmoil, for power in fatigue, for persistence in spite of bad health, for understanding in spite of the clamor of Western life. Progress is, therefore, made in spite of, and not because of, existing conditions. For disciples, such as those I am now going to attempt to teach, there is no retiring from the world. There is no condition of physical peace, and of quiet wherein the soul may be invoked and in which work potent in results may be achieved in the calm of silence, and the rest of what the Hindu calls samadhi, complete detachment from the calls of the body and the emotions. The work has to go forward in clamor. The point of peace must be found in the midst of riot. Wisdom must be attained in the very midst of intellectual turmoil, and the work of cooperation with the higher